Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, March 14th, 2022. Yep, we're about halfway through March already. And we're going to have a good live stream tonight. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about different things. If you're new here, we try to focus on classic cars, Mustangs, Camaros, Mopars, Studebakers, anything, really. And when I say classic, we're talking 50s, 60s, 70s, that bracket pretty much. So I'm hoping everybody has had a good weekend. I know we had a cold snap come through Georgia. The last couple days, Saturday and Sunday, early in the morning, it was 25 and 21 degrees, which is pretty cold for Georgia. And thankfully, I think that has passed now. So we're going to start climbing back up to the 50s and 60s and 70s. In fact, today I think it had a high of 64. Still felt a little chilly, but it was good. And it looks like coming up the next day or so, it's going to get even better, which is great because we all know that the price of gas and electric and food and just about everything in our lives is going up, 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 up. And hopefully something happens to fix all that. It might be a while, but hopefully it does. If you're new to the chat, again, we talk about cars. Sometimes we talk about food. Sometimes we talk about movies. Sometimes we talk about just random stuff, and that's okay. That's okay. We're all just here to hang out right now. If you do have a question, I ask you go ahead and submit it in the chat box on the side. I should say on the side. And if I get a good question, you may get a bell. If I get a good answer, either from me or from somebody in the chat box, a little bell reward. Just something I like to give. It's all about giving. So let's see who's here right off the bat. Terry Keithley, he was here early. Good evening, Barry and all. Please hit the like and thumbs up button. Thank you. Yes, very, very much so. Let's see. Steve, good evening from South Central Pennsylvania. Glad you're here, Steve. Hope all is well. Rick Stevenson checking in. Hey, everyone. Jerry from the Money Pit. Good evening to all from Middle Tennessee. And Ralph Burrows. Hello from, I know I said this wrong last time, and I'll probably say it wrong again. Powhatan. I don't know. Powhatan, Virginia. I think I said Powell before, but that's not right. So we'll try Powhatan. We'll try that. Crash Rider, greetings from Southern Indiana. Appears as if the Camaro is beginning to disappear. Be sure to hit the like button. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dawn's Manufactory. Hello from Hawaii. Not Portland? Oh, man. That must be nice. Escape Portland for a little while. Get to Hawaii. Cool. Good for you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're checking in from Hawaii. I don't know if we've had anybody else, not, even though you're visiting from Hawaii, it still counts, right? Still counts. Steve's Money Pit. Hello from warm Wisconsin, everyone. We hit 57 degrees today. Thumbs up for Barry because it looks like he did something. Yes. And let me tell you, I'm having fun. I'm having fun right now. I've said it before. Sheet metal is my thing. I love to do sheet metal work. And I am having fun digging into this car. I did post a video on my Patreon account, and I was discussing how I was attacking this. And I think I had to change directions just a little bit from what I said on that video. So those of you that follow me on Patreon, I'm going to have to go a little bit deeper into the car than what I thought. But it's still good. It's still good. Robert, evening all. 80 degrees here in Texas, hoping for a slow warm-up this year, too, because summer is brutal here. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Simone, hi, Barry. Hope you're well. I did some work on my car and bike today. Very pleased with myself. Well, good for you, Simone. Good to hear that. Gary Hamlin, if you're on time, you're late, I guess. Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how I look at things. Dave Conville, good evening all. Glad you're here, Dave. Harvey says, hello, Chopper. Yeah. Yeah, if you saw the picture I posted, it's pretty cut up right now. Ray, good afternoon, Barry, and all hope you're having a great day. Temps are good this week. A cold day coming but nothing serious. Yeah, I'm hoping to all just kind of scoots through and we're done with it. Brendan Reisinger, hello from Tulsa area. Oh, hi, Brendan. And Richard Porter, I have a 65 Mustang Coupe that has an extreme smell of gas exhaust fumes when I'm driving. Any ideas what could be the cause of this issue? Well, give me some more information. Is it stock? Have you done any modifications? Have you added a carburetor? Have you had problems with the fuel line? Have you had problems with the fuel filter? There's a variety of things that could be causing that. Just running rich will cause that, if your carburetor's adjusted incorrectly. So give us some more information. Let us know exactly what you have going on. And he says, hello. Glad you're here. Doyle, did you buy that conditioning tool from Harbor Freight? I will get mine this weekend. I have not yet. I have not. But I will be getting, pretty sure I'll be getting that one. I was looking today at these quarter panels that I've had sitting in my little barn for ever. And I realized, which I was probably going to strip them anyway, but I realized the way that they were situated inside the shed, they were getting hit with sunlight. And sunlight is no good for that coating, that EDP coating. It is not UV compliant or UV resistant, whatever. So I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a line running across that panel right there. And that part of it is shiny and part of it is dull. And so I realized that the dull part is what was exposed. So regardless, I was going to strip them anyway once I got them, up on a car. So I'm looking forward to getting that tool, though. I am. Simone, my carbs aren't right. I get the same problem. Yeah, you got to have the carburetor adjusted right. But, it's hard to say exactly what's going on with Richard's car. You can't diagnose based on just a couple of suggestions. You need to have some good information as to what's been done to the car and what's not. So Harvey says to Richard, how is your trunk seal? A bad seal will let in tons of exhaust fumes. So that's a good observation. So that's something to consider. Yep. But again, the more information we have, the more we can kind of assess it. Anyway, so if you looked at the video or the picture that I posted on the thumbnail for this video, I have been working on getting this thing apart. So I have taken out the dash, and when I was taking it apart, I found out the dash was bad, like the top panel. It was painted yellow, and so I just thought they scuffed it and painted it. And then once I started taking it apart, I found a rusted area that they had just packed with Bondo. So I already have a new panel anyway, but it had to come out. And then I took out the main dash panel, where your gauges sit. So that took a little bit of effort. Had to think about that one. Got it out. Of course, I'll show it in the video. And from there, then I started focusing on getting, I've got the side of the car, most of the car, the upper portion of the car cut off. I still have to cut out the rocker panel and get that windshield post out and all that stuff. So things are coming along. I do have bracing inside the car. I don't think it's necessary, honestly, but I know I need to be a good example, because some people aren't comfortable with taking stuff apart without having bracing, and I get that. And I think with the way I'm doing this, that the bracing is just kind of a backup. It's solid. It's not going anywhere, but it's kind of a backup to what I'm doing. And, gives an example of how people can put things to, structurally together to keep it solid. So it pays off for just about any car, regardless. Do something with it. Let's see. Troy, hi all. A little late again, but happy to be here. Glad you're here, Troy. And Richard, it's a new seal. I've been wondering if the hose from the gas intake leading... Wait, what? If the hose... Oh, from... You're talking about the inlet? You're talking about the inlet, the gas hose that comes down from the tail panel that goes into the gas tank itself? Maybe? Is that what you're saying? Um, but you could have, I mean, you could just have a bad line too, a bad rubber hose somewhere, and just be seeping. There's a lot of things that can be wrong. I tend to think more towards, has this been doing it a long time too, or did it just start? So if you've been driving the car for a long period of time and it doesn't do anything, and now suddenly it's starting to have some gas smell, obviously something has changed, and it could be as simple as a brake or a rubber hose that's going between different points. So a lot of those things you have to kind of just look at really hard. I've seen old gas lines crack and just weep out enough gas that you can notice it, but that's probably where you're going to have to start looking at all those things. Let's see. Simone, I also think my middle muffler is leaking. Speed bumps here are lethal. Oh, your middle muffler? So you have middle muffler. Does that imply you have like more than one? Or middle imply you have three? That's an interesting thought. Because I've not seen, you usually don't see more than one muffler on a vehicle. On if it has a single exhaust. But if you got duals, yeah, you have dual mufflers. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but we'll go from there. So what else is going on out there? I know, the past week I've had a couple people contact me. I've had some people talk about getting on the live stream with me, which is great. May not be, I don't know if I want to do it today or not, or maybe, on Thursday. But if you want to get on the live stream with me, send me an email, and I'll get you an invite on here. Let's see, someone else. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Oh, middle is in the center of the car. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. I get that. And I guess there's a different way to look at these things, but I think I would just say my muffler is leaking, But that's okay. We get it. And that's the thing, too. These cars, I used to have, I've talked about this before, an old Chevy truck, a 72 Chevy that I drove when I was in high school. And it actually had, chrome stacks I put on it. There's a step-side bed, and I put side pipes going up to make stacks. Just thought it was cool. And again, I've talked about this before, but what I used to do was a 4-speed truck. And you got me thinking about this, muffler blowing out. Basically, if I was going down a hill, I'd leave it in gear and I'd shut the fuel or shut the ignition off, and the fuel would load up, within the engine, and then you turn the key on and it would backfire basically, and just flames would blow out of the stacks. And I did that one time, and I blew both of the stacks off the truck. Just a little too much pressure. Just blew it apart. Christian Stefan, greetings from Bucharest, Romania. Man, I haven't seen you on here, and I think you've been on a live stream. I don't know, but I haven't seen you on here in quite a while. I hope all is well with you in Romania. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and a lot of it's over in Europe right now, or that area. So I'm hoping everything is good for you and your family. I actually have a friend here in the States who is he escaped Romania. Let's put it that way. He escaped Romania years ago and came here to the States. And he's a great guy, real nice guy. But that was back under different leadership. You know what I mean? Mike Marzano, good afternoon from California. Anyone have experience with swapping heads on a 260? I don't have any experience with that, but we might have somebody on here who does. So if anybody has any information for Mike, what are you trying to figure out, Mike? As far as swapping, you trying to put on like some Edelbrocks or something, or some aluminum heads or upgrades, or what? I don't know what they make for that engine in particular. So I don't know what is required to do a swap on that. So we'll see if anybody has any input on that. Other things going on right now, I've been focusing on the Camaro, obviously. And I've had several people contact me. Again, I get people to contact me all the time about working on their cars. And whether it's be Mustangs or just normal everyday vehicles. So I've probably told you before, I do things, I'll do oil changes, for friends of mine. I may do even some body work if they need it, some, collision type work. But it's keeping me busy, doing all that stuff. Stefan, all good here. Things are peaceful for now. Just trying to stay busy with the build. Okay. That's good. That's good to hear. Ronnie, good afternoon from North Dakota. Glad you're here, Ronnie. Doyle, we may have to be coasting down hills again like we did in the 70s if gas keeps going up. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I know here locally in my area, I think it's $4.29 a gallon is where we're at. But I've seen, out in California, they're getting nailed with the price. And what's crazy about it? I don't necessarily want to get into too much politics here, but our current so-called leader of the states, he campaigned on shutting down the oil industry. That was his campaign. It was one of his campaign things. I want to shut down fossil fuels, and force people into getting this and that and the other. And it's crazy to think that in effect, that's what he's been doing. And, when you look at the numbers, a lot of people will tell you that for what it takes to create the electric supply chain, you end up burning or using fossil fuels to do it. So you're not gaining anything in the process. And plus all the stuff that's involved with these new cars having these high-powered batteries that if there's something goes wrong with them, you could have a catastrophic, fire, and have to have special fire equipment to even put the things out. And there's so many things that we're being misled on the industry for the electric movement. I think there's a place for electric vehicles, but not for everybody. That's for sure. There's no way that we could ever provide enough electric vehicles for everybody, and two, provide up enough electricity to feed those vehicles. So it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And you could imagine if the whole world was trying to go to electric, everybody, we couldn't do it. You'd have to tap into a volcano to have enough power to power up this stuff. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Whoops. Let me get back up here. Stefan, have you ever had issues on Mustangs with the rear differential pushed to the side about half an inch? No. Now, is it actually pushed to the side, or have you already checked your spring perches to see if they're in the right location on the housing? I can't say it's not, it couldn't happen, but when you're saying is it offset, like if you didn't have the differential in place, are the springs offset, or is the differential offset on the springs? So you need to kind of do some cross measuring and figure out what's actually out of place. But no, I have not had that problem. Let's see, Gary. I bought my dad the Borgeson power steering conversion for a '68 Fastback. At 76 years old, it's a little hard for him to steer in parking lots. Z-bar from Open Tracker doesn't clear the headers. Yeah, I'm not sure. Are you just letting us know? Because I don't know what the fix is going to be on that. When you say Z-bar, when you say Open Tracker, are you talking about the drag link, or are you talking? I'm not sure what you're saying with the Z-bar. I'll have to get some more information on that. Ray Buckman, I've emailed the guy about restarting Keystone, pumping its own oil, and helping Americans, but so far nothing. Yeah, yeah. They're not gonna do anything to help us. Mick Middleby, greetings from Australia. Notice your, I guess, gas price. We are 221 per liter at present. And I think it's what, 3.7 liters per gallon, is that right? 3.79 or 3.8, something like that. So you are almost 246. You're about $8 a gallon. $8 a gallon, if I'm guessing right. Ray says, "Oh, it." Okay. Gary Hamlin. On the 260, the bore is the limiting factor with the valve clearances. Not sure if you can even fit the 289 heads, even though they would bolt up. That is a very good question. That is a concern. Now, I don't know what the if they make any kind of performance heads for that vehicle. I really don't. Because, I mean, I understand you want to keep the engine. It's probably the original to the car, but I don't know what options are available to hop it up. But I would be definitely concerned with the heads, the valves interfering with the heads. Okay, so Ray has given me it an hour. Okay, I got it. Ed, $5.90 for regular in Orange County, California today. Yep, $5.90. I saw a video today that said we have had the worst inflation, I think they said, since 1982. Yeah, the worst inflation since 82. Ralph, unfortunately, my 65 fastback has the bad cow disease. Is there a big difference between the Dynacorn or generic brand? Second question, started doing my floor pans, opinion on overlap and plug welds. Honestly, I can't say that there is a specific difference between Dynacorn and the generic brands. I've installed both. And it could be hit and miss, honestly. Because the one that I put in that was a Dynacorn, I think it was Dynacorn on a box. Like it was a black panel. It wasn't silver. So it may have just been a Dynacorn labeled generic model. Now, there may be some differences that I'm not seeing. I know you have to be specific. I think you have to be somewhat specific on the wiper location. I think there's some difference between different years. And maybe the 67 and 8, I'm not sure. But I don't know that I can point to something and say, yeah, this part is different or that part is different. Floor pans, opinion on overlap and plug welds. Well, I can give you a whole bunch of opinions on that, but I have to figure out what you're getting at. Let's say you're doing the floor pan itself and you're overlapping your floor supports or you're overlapping panels. Like if I'm putting in a floor pan, which I've done videos on, and what I like to do is overlap the panel so that I have maybe a 1/4 inch of overlap. And then I weld that entire panel in place. I don't do spot welds. I don't do tacks. I weld the entire panel in because it was a solid floor when it started. It wasn't pieced together. So in that aspect, I overlap, like I said, about a 1/4 inch. And then plug welds, if possible, I try to keep the parent metal or the parent piece. I don't want to drill through both. Let's say I'm removing an upper cowl or whatever. I don't try to drill through both panels. I try to just take the top weld off so that the parent metal underneath stays, and then I make a new hole, and when I overlap it, I can weld to that parent metal and make it solid again. I had somebody ask me about this earlier this week on Facebook, and it was how big of a hole do you make? Some people do he said 3/16, which to me is not enough of a hole for plug welds. I typically, the smallest hole I would do is 5/16. And then when I'm welding, I will weld. There's 2 ways to do it when you're welding that plug weld together. One, which I really like to do, is weld the edge of the hole and maybe go, like, it doesn't matter, counterclockwise, whatever. But I weld the perimeter of the hole and then I spiral back into the center and make it as smooth as I can. Or you can start in the center and spiral out and catch the panel. Whatever works for you, as long as you get the whole thing filled in and the perimeter of the hole welded up. So, good question. Deserves a bell. Robert went from 410 down to 396. Now, Robert, did it go down, or did they do something with the state tax? Because there was talk about doing that in Georgia, about dropping the state tax on gas to try to help. So, did it actually go down, or was it an adjustment on the tax? So, Gary Hamlin trimmed to fit clutch linkage. Oh, okay. So we were talking about. Let's go back up to that a second. Z-bar from OpenTracker doesn't clear the headers. Okay. Yeah, you may be doing some customizing. So Robert has noted the Z-bar for the clutch. Yep. You may have to do some customizing. That's about all I can say. Shopcat Industries. Hello, everyone. Glad you're here. And Mick Middleby, that's correct. 3.7 liters to a U.S. gallon. That's 91 octane. Man. I was close. I was guessing. Ray Buckman, we call the Z-bar the clutch mechanism, so not sure what the reference is to. Okay. I think that's... The Z-bar works, but the clutch mechanism actually works well. Taylor, hi from Saskatchewan, Canada. How's the convoy going down in the States? I was down at the Couts Milk River Border Freedom Rally. Justin Trudeau has destroyed our country. Well, I think it's a group effort. I think that's the goal. Now they want to see who can do the best destruction of the country and economy. You know, it's like a competition. You see one do something, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I can do it better. Hold my beer, you know. The next one takes a turn and sees what they can do. I have not looked up the convoy, so I can't tell you for sure. But yeah, they're really doing all they can to screw up everything. Michael Pagliarini, what year is the Mustang? 64, 66 rear ends are offset. One tube is longer than the other side. So there we go, Stefan. There's an answer from Michael. So hopefully maybe that helps. Terry, does anyone know of an aftermarket chassis that will accept a shoebox body? No S10, please. That's a good question. I mean, S10 is like the go-to kind of thing. But I don't know what would work for your vehicle. So I don't know. Shopcat, hi Taylor H. We're province neighbors. Cheers from AEB. I'm with you about Trudeau. Yeah, I think everybody is. Most people. I think most people now realize, you know, that Biden's a joke, Trudeau's a joke. You know, the whole thing. Just it's all garbage. Just no. Ray, Barry, notice you removed the B pillar. Is a new one in your stock of parts. Yeah, I have the whole side of the car. If you look, like you see that piece over there, that is literally the whole side of the car. And there's a couple, I was looking at approaching this in a couple different ways. One was just to do the whole side, right? But that was a little more involved than what I wanted it to be because it would involve the cutting out of the inner rocker panel. And I want to keep the inner rocker panel because it's in good shape, and it's also keeping the car together. So like the floor pan and that sort of thing. And it's not a big deal to separate the rocker panel. And then I was going to try to keep as the B or the A pillar as much as I could until I realized that I can't. So I will be doing the whole thing. Well, sort of. No inner rocker. But anyway. Robert, both the black and the Welty Primer version sold with the Dynacorn sticker are made by Muscle Car GT. So there you go. Muscle Car GT is where to go, I guess. Troy, I got a Dynacorn upper and lower cowl, and it took a lot of metal work to get them to fit. Yep. Well, I mean, sometimes it is hit and miss. Sometimes it is. Stefan, Every measurement seems okay. I'm thinking of opening the left and right holes on the differential where it meets the leaf spring, the holes that center with the pin from the leaf springs. Well, a half inch, that's a pretty good movement. Well, technically, technically you're moving a quarter inch, right? Because if it's offset a half an inch, if you move it a quarter of an inch, well, you're moving this one out a quarter and this one in a quarter, which makes up your half inch. So you could do that, I suppose, but you have to be careful. You know, there's some products out there. A friend of mine who drag races, he has this. I don't know what it's called, but there is like an offset kind of pin set, right? For doing just exactly what you're saying, but it'd be more complicated than what you need. But he has these pins that are actually kind of offset one way or another, and you can index them to move the axle housing left and right. If you're going to do that, you can enlarge the holes, but also I would maybe weld in on the side so that it can't shift on you. You know, if you make it an oblong hole, then it could still move, possibly. So just consider that. Martin Levy, my 6-day coupe ammeter doesn't register anything. This looks like a common issue. Is it worth fixing? Is it worth fixing? Is it fixable? Good question. Now, I'm trying to think if there was if there's a resistor built into that or not. I know on the 70 that I worked on, it had like a kind of a resistor thing that had to be replaced for it to work, and I don't know if the 68 has that or not. But I guess the question really is it worth fixing? Well, that's up to you. Is it, you know, we can debate on that. Like, is the car running okay? Is it going to matter if that thing is showing you that it's reading voltage? You know, if the battery's going to die anyway, it doesn't help if it's, let's say it's reading incorrectly and it's showing you voltage. But if the car is running okay, it's debatable as to whether you really need to fix it or not. You know, if it starts and drives and goes, it's just something that you may throw money at for no reason. Maybe. Let's see. Jerry, I pulled the 66 engine and I'm now fitting the T5 transmission, waiting for engine apron steel to start removing and installing. Waiting for engine apron steel to start removing and installing the new parts. Okay, good. Good for you, Jerry. Good for you. Ralph, thanks for the advice, Barry. Your channel is my guide. Yeah, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad to help out. Glad to help out. Stefan, it is a 67. Yes, one tube is longer than, and that is normal, but it's not normal on passenger side. The wheel to sit flush with the quarter, and on the left side to have the wheel pushed in about an inch. Oh, so it's about an inch. Well, again, whatever the number is, half inch or whatever your numbers are. Yeah, that just doesn't quite make sense. Why it would be offset like that? I don't understand it. But I mean, like I said, there's different options you have available. If you really wanted to invest in the little pin kit, you'd have to Google it. I don't have the information in front of me to share that with you. But I know he was. I can't remember how it all worked, but anyway, they do make some sort of offset. Gene, hey all, Barry, I've been in and out for a while. Is Jade gone? No, Jade is not gone. Jade is in the back, just relaxing, staying clean and out of the way, and that's where it's at right now. There's still a couple things to do to it, and I'm not really in a hurry. Just not in a hurry. I plan to put on a new alternator and make it a one-wire alternator. I still have to put the grill in and the horns, and I think that's about it. But at this point, the Camaro is getting all of my attention. Well, I say all, most of my attention, and I'm really enjoying it. You know, I said earlier, sheet metal. It's what I like to do. It's what I like to do. So I'm out here cutting and taking the plasma cutter and making little pieces. In fact, I can show you the there's what's left of the roof section and the support. Sorry about that. But hopefully tomorrow I'll have almost everything cut out. And then there's what I'm doing. What I'm doing with this is there's all kinds of pinch welds. And I could sit there and try to drill and get all those separated, which is going to happen anyway. But what I want to do is zip off all of the main structure so that when I do start to drill out the spot welds, I have easy access with my splitting tool and can, break all that stuff away. It'll just make it a lot easier to dissect. Gene, glad you were back to metalwork. You look like you enjoy it, and I enjoy watching. Thank you, Gene. Yes. Yeah, I've been out here most of the day and just, getting the chance to do this sort of thing again and think about how I want to solve these problems and not having to beg for parts, that sort of thing. Say, hey, what's going on? I can't get it, whatever. So I'm really glad that I'm not dealing with other things. Ralph, have you given the Camaro a name? Well, technically, this is the basket case Camaro. That's what I called it in 2014 when I first got the car, because literally it was the shell with some of it bolted together and all of the sheet metal splayed all over it. So basket case Camaro is the name of it. And Simone, a piece of wall art now. Yeah, it could be, I guess. It's not really nice. It could be, but I doubt I'll keep that. And Troy, the crooked Camaro. Yes, no. No, I don't plan on making a crooked car, so I wouldn't call it the crooked Camaro. It's going to be just the basket case Camaro. That's what I've labeled it, and that's what it's going to stay. Let's see, Richard, plasma cutters sure make things easier. Beats cutting spot welds and using cutting wheels. Yeah, I'll still have to cut out spot welds, but when you remove if you have a flange and you have another piece like this, and you're trying to separate this flange, this is fighting you. So you cut this piece off, and now you just have a flat piece against a flat piece, and you drill into it, and then you can peel it off. Makes it a lot easier. Jerry, looking at my 66 wiring diagram, it appears the ammeter may have a resistor internal. Generally, I've seen that a good fix is change the ammeter to a voltmeter. Okay. So that's an answer for the ammeter question. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Always good to have information. I'm not really seeing any real surprises yet with the car. There's some other things that I want to consider moving forward as I work on it, like whether I want to get it media blasted or not. Parts of it, I don't know yet. I haven't decided. May end up being a wire wheel and elbow grease to get it cleaned up, but I'm not sure. I don't. This is not going to stay yellow, at least not on my watch. I don't have any problem with a yellow Camaro. I really don't. I like the color. Put some black stripes on it. The SS, the cowl induction hood. Throw some black stripes on there. Maybe whatever. I like the way it looks. But this car was not yellow. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be painted back to the original color, which is on the A-pillar here. That's rally green. I'm a fan of green. I like green. And if you look up, rally green 68 Camaro, they usually are the green with they put the white like hockey stick stripes on them and stuff like that, which I like it. It looks good. It looks good. But I have not, I'm not committed to painting this or anything. But I'm looking at the idea that if somebody is going to, take on the paint work and stuff, I don't want to have them stuck with all this yellow on here when it should be primer. Because that's not how you build a car. You don't start with painting. It was almost like they thought this car was going to be like a Christine, right? You start buffing on this or polishing on that, or, throw some paint on it and it'll just start fixing itself. Maybe that's what they were thinking. They watched Christine too many times. You can't do that. I understand where they were coming from, but why would you fix up the cowl? I think it has a new heater core and box and everything in there. But why would you fix all that up whenever the roof is crushed? If you remember the movie, in Christine, here they were saying, this kid, I don't understand what this kid is doing. He's putting new wipers on a car and it's all, rusted and wrecked. Well, maybe that's what they thought. That's how it works. You just kind of clean something really good and paint it, and then the rest of the car will just kind of like reform itself and come back together. Doyle, do they make a steel and brass wire wheel for that conditioning tool? That's a good question. I don't know. Robert might know. I know he's got some different types of wheels he put on his, so Robert might have an answer for that, but I don't know. But that's a good question, good thought. Let's see, Gene, how far are you taking this project? At this point, let me back up a step. When I started on this car, I had another 68 Camaro that I did all the sheet metal work on. And when I forgot that car, when I got it, it actually had a 454 in it that I pulled out and sold. Now, at that time, I was leaning towards putting in an LS engine, a 5.3 LS overdrive transmission in that car and, finishing it. And then I didn't. I sold it. So I still have the 5.3 and the transmission and all that. That doesn't mean I'm going to finish it, but I'm just saying that's where my mind was then. At this point, what I want to do is do all the sheet metal work. Get it back straight, make it, the car that it's supposed to be. Get all the new metal on, make it straight, and then consider, the idea is to sell it. And it's probably what I'll be doing. I doubt that I'll go backwards and say, I'm going to do all the wiring and all interior and paint it. I don't really want to do that. I like doing sheet metal work, so that's probably where I'm going to stay focused. Brian, hey all, hope everyone is well. Hope my comments are working today. All is good here. Still working on the small block 302 build and occasional body work. Okay. Well, if that's your first comment, then it's here, Brian. Thank you for that. Simone, don't forget the thumbs up. Yes, thank you, Simone. Jerry, so these cars are transformers. Yeah. Yep. Robert, there are steel wire type wheels, but they are extremely expensive. Well, I don't know what extremely expensive it is, but I take your word for it. I take your word for it. Anything today, everything is getting to be, let's say, extremely expensive. We're dealing with just rampant inflation, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I don't know. Like I said, I saw a video today. They were talking about it, worst inflation since '82, and they're talking about raising interest rates and see how that does, and it's all crazy. It's all crazy. So Robert says the wire wheels are nearly as much as the tool cost, and some are even more. Yeah, that would be extremely expensive. Now I wonder why that's that expensive. It would be. I wonder why it's that expensive. That doesn't make sense. Unless it's taking some sort of special thing to make the wheel. Let's see. Troy, did you see the link I sent you for the 580 cubic inch V12 LS? Where did you send it? Did you send it to my email? Because if you did, I may have seen it, but I don't know. Or how long ago you sent it. 580 cubic inch. Wow. That would be impressive. Robert, my progress isn't going to be very much on the 66 because of the cost of materials and parts. Yeah. Yep. Jerry, I was at the paint shop today and a quart of silver mix not ready to spray, i.e. no reducer, was $168 plus tax. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to remember. Excuse me. I'm trying to remember what I paid for the quart that I bought for the Honda when I did it. I don't remember. It was over $100, but it wasn't $168. Let me see. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I see that you sent it to me, and unfortunately, I did not get a look at it. I don't think I have. I see it now. Sorry about that. I see you sent it to my Gmail. I got you. I just do a search. As you know, I get emails from all kinds of people and emails from companies that want me to do promotional stuff for them. In fact, I had, I've done those little battery things, the little battery jumper things. I probably had 10 of those, or 10 different variations for people to, want me to do videos on them. And I've already done 2 of those. And I only did the second one because I wanted the product. I didn't really want to do the video, but I liked the product. So I went ahead and did it. Yes Welder, of course, has sent me three welding tools or pieces of equipment. They sent me a plasma cutter, a MIG welder, and then that MP 200 multi-process 5-in-1 welder, plasma cutter, everything all in one. And part of that deal was they wanted me to do an instructional video, like how you put it together, how you make the connections, how you assemble this piece, and how you put that on, and how you put the wire on, all that sort of thing. And so I did that for them. Now it's not on YouTube. It's one for their company to put out for new purchasers to know how to put it together, because their instructions aren't that great. So they have they loved my video that I did. Well, guess what? They're sending me another tool, another machine. They're going to send me their 7-in-1 welding package. And I'll be doing a video for them. It won't be on the channel. I have shown the MP200 on various videos, but I'll be doing a 7-in-1 video. And what's unique about this machine they're going to be doing is it has a built-in compressor, which I don't know how you do that. I mean, a built-in compressor for their plasma cutter. So in other words, you don't have to have an air compressor. You can just run it off of their little compressor, whatever. Which to me is fine, but it's going to be like a light duty type of thing. It's not going to be something you're going to use every day to cut frame rails in half. It would be for small projects. But anyway, that's coming later on. Brian, just curious, is there profit for you to be made if you stop at just a complete repaired shell? That is a good question, because here's the thing. I don't remember exactly what I paid for the package for this car. I know that when I bought this car, it came with all the sheet metal. The only thing I bought was that side piece. It has everything else included with it. And of course, I bought it back in 2014. So when I bought the car, I actually had this car with all the sheet metal and a second shell, just a shell, and it had a floor pan with it. And I sold that assembly to another guy up in like West Virginia or something. So when you start, you paid this much for it, and then you sell off some parts, it brings the cost down. Now, as you consider this, also consider that in this case, because it's my car, it's bought and paid for. I am doing it to do it and get it done. So I don't have to say I need to get $20,000. I don't know what the number is. I feel like I will make money on this car once it's all back together. Yes. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to assess it, because if I were doing it for somebody else, I would be tracking hours, maybe and logging time and materials and that sort of thing. But at this point, I'm just enjoying digging into this car. This is kind of like a therapy session for me right now to be working on this car. So, I don't know what the number is. I know the last Camaro that I did, I made money on it. I did make money on it. And that car, I did the quarters, the deck filler panel, tail panel, wheel houses. I ended up doing extra work. Once I sold the car, the guy wanted mini tubs installed, which I did for him. He wanted a smooth firewall, which I did for him. So I made money on that car. Yeah. And maybe somebody wants some more of that work done here. But right now, I'm not going any further than doing all the main sheet metal. Okay, Troy. Yeah, thank you. James, I only have 6 more body sheet metal parts before I get started with my build. Wait, you lost me there. I guess I gave up another 200, and then the part goes up in price. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be. I don't plan. I mean, unless I can get all the sheet metal for the fastback, which that's still a goal, is to do the fastback conversion on the 67. But I can't. If the parts aren't available, first off, I can't do it. I'm not going to dig into the car unless I have the quarter panel sitting here, the tail panel, the roof panel, all those pieces and parts sitting right here in front of me. I can't get started on that car. I'm not going to do it. So, I mean, I want to, but unless I have the panels, not going to happen. Ralph, I'm collecting my parts now to beat the price increase option for the wire wheel. I'm going to try the sand water blast attachment for my power washer for irregular surfaces. Okay. That sounds like an option. I've not looked into that, but that may be a good option. Yeah, but getting the parts ahead of time or as much as you can, hope that works. James was going to have a hood and other large sheet metal freight shipped. Now the price just for freight is $245. Yep. Yeah. It's crazy. Robert. Oh, he says he has a pressure washer sandblaster attachment. And any comments on how it works? Okay. James, if someone bought the car from you when it's done, you could charge like $5,000 to $10,000 for a paint job. Yeah, I mean, I could, but I don't know that I want to. I don't know that I want to do. I like to get down and dirty in the car. Get the sheet metal cut off and the rust knocked out and weld it back together and make it straight again. That's kind of like where my high point is right now. Robert, we'll have to do a video on it. It does work though. Okay. Okay, Casey, what product do you use to smooth the joint at a previously leaded sail to quarter seam? I've used the short strand fiberglass filler. So that's what I've used. I make sure that the seam is all good and solid, like there's no rust or nothing that's going to cause problems. Because the reality is, if if that seam was going to flex and come loose or something like that, it would have popped that lead loose anyway. Um, but the short strand fiberglass seems to work fine, and then I top coat it with my Rage Ultra body filler. Robert, don't use a sandblaster with an electric pressure washer, not enough flow. Okay. Doyle, my opinion is put it in epoxy and sell it. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. The reality is, when you start doing these cars, and if you're doing it for yourself, that's different. Um, but like, I went through Jade, and I've done the whole car. I mean, literally nose to tail, the whole car has been apart and back together. And um, when you start thinking about the actual amount of time that it takes to do all the little stuff, to me, doing sheet metal work, like, doing work at the body shop and stuff like that before, and doing like, the collision work that I did on that little Honda, I could, that Honda, I could have had it probably done in 2-3 days total. But I, took my time and just kind of worked at it as I felt like it. But when I do this stuff, I can, just focus on the sheet metal and not worry about the carpet or the seat belts or the gauges or the wiring or the brakes or all that stuff. It's just crazy, all the time that really gets involved with that. James, transmissions have went up on price as well. 2 months ago, a 460E was only right at 600 shipped to my door. Now they are almost 600 without shipping. Yep, adds up really quick. Okay, somebody from the Philippines is checking in. Hello. Aaron, I bet filming also takes a ton of time. It does. And that's another thing that I can't sit there and say, well, I spent 4 hours filming today or something like that and go, that's, $50 an hour or so. I don't know. To me, the part of the whole experience of making the video and putting it on YouTube is the process. And, I can't add in that time. So if I'm working on somebody else's car, like if I'm putting in a floor pan or whatever, I have to adjust my time for the actual work. I can't sit there and say, well, I filmed this, even though it benefits them too. By me filming it, they can see the work and see what I've done, and put more faith in the process. But I can't sit there and necessarily say, well, it's going to cost you extra because I'm filming it. It doesn't work that way. Doyle, right? If you're going to keep it, it's a different animal altogether. Yes. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I'm a car guy. I'm not fixated on Mustang or Camaro or any particular car. I've had hundreds of cars in my life, literally, and I happen to like the '68 Camaro. I like the '69 Camaro. The '67, yeah, it's nice, but they fixed a bunch of things. Well, not a bunch. They modified the '68, like doing away with the vent windows. That was an awesome thing they did. And I look at like this little car right here. Now, granted, this is a '69, but how cool would it be to make something like that? This thing is just a sharp little car. And I guess it was supposed to be like a road course type thing. But it's just would be a great little car. Anyway, yeah. But it would take so much work to get all that done. Like, I would love to do a Smokey Unit clone. I would love to, but it's not going to happen. Not going to happen, because then what do I do with it? I can't drive it. If I'm taking a car and make it look like that, then you got to be careful taking it to any kind of car show or driving it, because there's a bunch of idiots out there driving around today. In fact, let me see if I have a picture of this. I was at a cruise-in event Was it last weekend? I think it was. And there were some cars at that. It was like at a farm location. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna show you this picture. Um, because this car that was at the car show, when I first saw it, I wasn't sure if it was a real car or not. And you'll see what I mean when I show it to you. Give it a second, load up. Okay, so this car, when I walked up to this thing, I mean, it was just gorgeous. Beautiful paint. All the stuff was right. It looked nice. On the rear wing, on the inside of the rear wing, it had autographs from, I don't know who, like different race car drivers and stuff were autographed on the inside. This thing had a pistol grip 4-speed in it, and it looked right. I mean, it looked like that car. And so as I'm looking at this car, I'm telling my wife, I said, I can't believe this car's sitting here, right? I mean, if this is a real Superbird, I just can't believe it's sitting here because they're worth a fortune right now. And I talked to a friend of mine who was there with it. He was with his own car. And I'm talking to him and I said, man, is that a real Superbird? And he's like, no, it's not. He said it started off as a Charger, and the guy added on. He's had years adding on the pieces and making it, look like a Superbird. It had some sort of modern Hemi engine in it, and it was just beautiful. And then he told me, he said, but this guy, he told me now, he said, but this guy drives this car all over the place. And I'm like, really? He drives this car all over the place. I just couldn't believe it. Well, what was funny about it was I made a little video clip of that car leaving the car show. Sounded fantastic. Again, beautiful car. He left the car show, and soon after, my wife and I left the car show. And we were driving back a 2-lane road that leads back to the house. And I look over, and the friend of mine who was there at the car show with his 66 Belvedere station wagon, beautiful car, that Superbird was at his house because the guy lived like an hour away. The Superbird was at this guy's house being put on a trailer. So the assumption was that he had driven that car over an hour somewhere, wherever he lived, to get to this cruise in at this farm. And the reality was he drove it about 3 miles from a trailer at my friend's place. And I was like, oh, he drives it everywhere. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see here. We're up to 109 viewers. Awesome, awesome, awesome. If you're here watching for the first time, I'll just announce this. If you're here watching for the first time, hit the thumbs up button. Just hit the thumbs up button. Leave a comment. Let me know where you're from. If you have a question about cars, ask it. Happy to try to answer it for you. Let's see, Ralph. I have the 3500 Honda 10 horsepower Honda for blasting. Hope it works well. Attachment is under $60. Okay, that might be interesting. Ed Cucciarella, wish I was close to your shop. I like doing it all less bodywork. Yeah. Well, the sheet metal is all good for me. Kevin Brown, hello from just outside Windsor, Nova Scotia, Canada. Really like the work you do. I have a 72 Nova project starting this year. I can't see the Camaro build. What do you mean you can't see the Camaro build? What does that mean? You can't see it on the videos that I posted? Is it restricted up there or something? Something I'm doing wrong? Let me know. Jerry, the detail finish of a restoration is a painstaking and takes tremendous time. Probably needs deep pockets. If it is your car, labor is cheap. Yeah. Yep. James asking what material are the wire wheels. That's for Robert, if he can answer that question. Michael, how does the Yes Welder plasma cutter work? I'm looking at the 55DS Father's Day gift to myself. Actually, the plasma cutter, I like it. I like it. The only thing that I've had, any kind of fault that I've had, um, is it has it's got a low duty cycle, which is okay as long as you realize you have to let it kind of relax. You have to let it stop and cool off and run it. Um, so like, but what I've done, I was cutting earlier, and I was just cutting everything, just kind of nonstop, and it tripped my circuit breaker. Okay, my fault. I kept running it, for an extended period of time. Um, but it seems to do a fine job. The 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 I think it's Cut 55DS. Yeah, that's the same one, and it seems to work fine. Ray Buckman, vent windows are great AC. Yes, 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 they are. Yes, they are. Simone, what would you say are the best and worst classic Mustangs? Ooh, well, that's a wide question, because it depends on what your perspective is. Okay, so you like the first Mustang, 64 and a half, right? Well, that was really just, to me, it was more like a Falcon. It was, yes, the body was a Mustang, but it was based off of kind of the Falcon. And the transition into 64 to 65, the 64 has a bunch of oddball stuff going on with it. Has a special core support. It has, the horns are located in weird places. There's a variety of things that make it unique to a 64 and a half. I think it was also a generator instead of an alternator. So although it's cool that was the first Mustang, it wasn't like they hit a home run. The styling is what sold that car. But there, it had the little V8 engine in it. There was a lot of things that were just unique to it, which is okay, except for when it comes time to build that car, you have to find those pieces if you want to keep it that way. So I would say, I wouldn't put the 64 and a half as far as the best. When you go forward, 65 and 6, basically the same car, a little changes here and there, decent overall. 67 was a weird transition between 6 and 8, and so they used some parts from a 66, some parts were modified to go 67. 68, in my opinion, is where they finally got things kind of straightened out. You didn't have the suicide steering column with the straight post coming at you. You could upgrade the brakes easier. I don't know what year the C6 came out, but they were putting bigger engines in it. So 68 is kind of where the climb goes. And then, of course, 69 is just been the quintessential Mustang, in my opinion. The fastback, Mach 1, so many cool things they did with that car. And, of course, they carried it into 70. Then 71, 72, 73 is kind of like the stepchild of Mustang. That they kind of said, let's go a whole different direction and start building a bigger car and adding in, different angles and extending it. It made it just a bigger, bulkier car. And, of course, when you go from there to 74, I think it was, where they had the Mustang 2, is just that went downhill for a while on those cars. I forget what year it was, 70, 78. They started 77, somewhere they started coming back with the V8s and stuff like that. So that's kind of my timeline on Mustangs, in my opinion. But good question. See if anybody agrees with me. Larry Fordyce, such a millennial car guy. Is that your preferred pronoun? Yes, that is my preferred pronoun. Yes, I am a car guy. Let me see here. Okay, I was just checking to see if I had any emails. Jerry, the blue car has a fiberglass nose. They don't show as good as an original. Yeah, it is slightly different. It is slightly different. You're right. Simone, those Plymouth Superbirds are stunning. Yeah, they are. I mean, they're really a unique car. Rich, hi from Rhode Island. I have a 68 Mustang convertible. Need inner, outer rocker panels advice. Ooh, Ooh. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, like in this Camaro that I'm building, I'm working on, and I cut the whole side of the car off. Right. I've added in cross bracing. So you're working with a convertible. The challenge is coming up with bracing to keep everything in shape before you replace those parts, because once you start cutting away the rocker panels, you're gonna have flex. You're gonna have flex. So get some 1 inch square tubing. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. One is you can cross brace the A pillar to the B pillar. I've seen people use the hinges. They take the door off the hinges and they build a plate that attaches to the hinges, and they do a crisscross with, or even a triangulation of the hinges to, let's say, your striker, right? You create a device or a latch basically that would hold everything in place, or you make a plate that replaces your striker and you run screws into it so that you triangulate the door opening. Another thing you can do, get some 1 inch square tubing and do a crisscross. So you start somewhere, you can do somewhere near the dash or the kick panel, and go back to the corner opposite side of let's say you're going from the driver's side to the passenger side rear. Create a cross piece, create a secondary cross piece. You want to bridge everything you can together as much as you can. You may even go up to the top of the windshield frame and put an angle coming down on either side. Everything you can think of as far as a triangulation. Like, when they build bridges, they build a lot of triangular shapes into the bridges for strength. So think about that, how you want to cross brace the car internally so that it doesn't collapse on you. Once you get all that stuff in place, then you can start cutting away. Good question. James, do you work on transmissions? I do not. I don't. That's one thing I don't do. I tend to pass that off. I have a friend who does transmission work, and I hand him that, and he hands me back a transmission a month later or whatever, week later, whatever it is, and I pay him and I say thank you and I put it in the car. So I don't mess with transmissions. The only thing I've ever done is put in, like, what do they have, those shift kits? The little, I forget what the company is called. You'd change out a few things and do like a shift kit. That's all I've ever done as far as extra. Aaron, I know two-stage paint looks better, but any shame in doing a single stage on a driver for my first painting project? No. I mean, no, not at all. You can do a single stage. Just know, I would say don't buy the cheapest paint. Try to get something decent and do some research as to what you can do with it as far as color sanding and buffing if you need to. I know we've had a guy on here, Winged Warrior. He did a single stage on his 68, and it turned out nice. Now, if you're doing base coat, clear coat, that's one thing. You can address things a little differently. But single stage, you just have to be careful when you're spraying, because if you get a run, you got to get that out of there somehow, whereas base clear, you could spray the base, and if you have a problem, you can sand it and touch it up. But your single stage, you just have to take your time and make sure you're following the procedures. But you can sand and buff that. Doyle, did you get the radio and speakers working in Jade? No. I kind of just I haven't messed with it, honestly. I mean, I'll put everything back together and it will work, but I'm just not too worried about it. I wish I could have a sound system like Wally has in his 68. He's building a fantastic system in his car, but I'm not too worried about it. I have the engine to listen to. Paul Rogers, 10th Mountain Division. Hua, right of the line. Golden Dragons. Yes. I served in 10th Mountain Division back in 85 to 88 when they activated at Fort Benning. Spent 3 years down there in the 2nd Battalion, 14th Infantry Regiment. And I was 11 Charlie. That's what I don't hear. I can't hear anything. Daniel, not trying to be rude, but I got a question. Why do you pick up what? Why do you pick up a Russian Russian out Camaro? What do you mean Russian? Rusting? Maybe rusting? Is that what you're saying? Well, it's not. The thing is, it's not rusted out. That's the funny part. It's not rusted out. It was either this car was rolled over, or it was had a tree fall on it or something. That was suggested. But it's not rusted out. But even if it is, I don't. It doesn't matter to me. If it's rusted out or not, I'll still cut it up and put new panels in and make it solid again. 11 Bravo all the way. Yes, sir. Kevin, I can't wait to see the Camaro build. My typing is off. It's cold here. Okay. Brandon, watched a ton of your videos while deployed to Djibouti during COVID. Thanks for the entertainment and education doing Cal on the 68 now. Awesome. Thank you for your service. Robert, Empire Braces has lots of drums for the Bauer Eastwood SCT. They have a steel wheel for $45. I would lean towards the abrasive plastic ones unless you're removing mainly rust. Okay. Thank you, Robert. Daniel, so this is a woke leftist channel. Let's go, Brandon. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're coming from, Daniel, but have a good day. Ray Buckman, now those 74, 78 Mustangs are making a comeback. I don't much care for the 80s, but the 90s got smoother lines. Yes, I agree. The 90s, 93, somewhere in there was, starting to hit the sweet spot on those cars. Yeah, and the 74 to 78s are making a comeback. They are. There's people that are building those things. Casey, loving that Bauer SCT and Internal Craftsman for the price. It's great. Yes. Thanks for stream, Barry. I need to get sleep now. Bye all. Okay, glad you're here, Simone. Appreciate it. And Robert throws a thumbs up on there. Daniel says, rested out Camaro. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, it's not rusted out. That's the thing. It was a rollover or a tree fell on it. And, what do you do? If you have a car that's rusty, do you just trash it, or do you try to save it? Me, I'm going to try to save it. If you've seen my other videos, I started that on a convertible project that I did. I had almost nothing left of the original car, but I put it back together. Yeah, rust is just another thing to deal with. If it was wrecked, would you just trash it, or would you try to save it? Cut out the bad metal and replace it. That's to me, it's almost the same thing. Yeah, rust doesn't bother me. Man, we had some good stuff going on there. Asking about the Mustangs, talking about the SCT, all the different things. So yeah, we've got good conversations going. Good conversations. But yeah, back to those Mustangs. I forget what year, 74. I mean, they were basically Pintos. That's all they really were Pintos. And I'm trying to remember. I think maybe was it 77 that they came back out with a small block or a V8 in it. Just like the Vegas. Whenever they were doing the Vegas in the early 70s, people were buying those and slapping small blocks in those. That was a big thing to do. Because you think about it, those are little lightweight cars that you could put a lot of horsepower in, probably run off the road pretty fast. But yeah, they could be a lot of fun. Let's see, Ray. People are out there working on worse cars than the Camaro. Yes, they are. James, I only have 3 panels, just like Brooklyn Pony, windshield frame, rear seat area. Yep. Yeah, there's just, as long as you got something to start with. I always joke that I started with door hinges. Ray, yeah, 74s looked like they were based on Pintos. Yeah, they were. It was just a glorified Pinto is all it was. James, so rust on an issue to repair on any Mustang. That is correct. Yeah, just cut it out and replace it. Jerry, there will be a day when the old Mustangs, Camaros, and other classics will be gone. Yeah, that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Casey, good night from Michigan. All right. Glad you're here, Casey. Have a good night. Doyle, my Cutlass, as you know, was T-boned. New quarter, rebuilt door post. Now good to go. Just remove the metal. Don't hide it. Fix it. Yes. Exactly right. Don't hide it. Ray Buckman. Good night, Casey. Okay. Oh, speaking of Doyle, since you brought that up, somebody messaged me earlier today. I forgive me, I don't remember who it was, about a car that they saw a video on YouTube, and I don't know that I have it saved or not. I think it was like Midwest Customs or something. I don't know. And the guy was working on a 65 or 6 teal green Mustang. And apparently he had a body shop or something. And the guy, you're talking about hiding things. The guy's walking around the car and he's saying that he was supposed to do just a paint job on this car. And apparently he started removing paint and he found garbage. I think it's called Frankenstein 66 Mustang or something like that. It was horrible. And each video has gotten progressively worse. The car looked great. It did. The paint looked fantastic, at least from what I could see. You know, he was taking it apart to either change color or something. I don't know. But man, he started digging into it, and he had removed the driver's side quarter panel, and it was just horrible. It was just horrible. And people just fix things totally wrong, hide it, and then sell it to somebody else. And that's just not the way it's done. Daniel, one day I'd like to take like a 99 Silverado, completely, let me see, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, Daniel. One day I'd like to take like a 99 Silverado, completely ride it out from roof to rocker panel. And my question is, what do you think of 90s NRE 2000s of vehicles? Collectability. I don't think the collectability is going to be very high. You know, the 99 Silverado, that was the first year, or maybe, 98, 99 was a transitional year. So they were good trucks. I've had several of those, and I love those trucks. Now, you're talking about rebuilding it, I guess, but collectability, I think it's gonna be tough. Just now, the trucks that were built in 88 to 98, those trucks, and especially the early ones, the 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, they seem to be going up in value, because if you get one of those, it's a little short bed, that's a little hot rod truck. And I saw one at a cruise in. It was a fantastic condition. It looked like it was almost new. And it was about a 92 model, I think. 91, 92. I had a 91. I wish I still had the thing. But I think those trucks are going to start going up more than the later ones. Now, it may take some time, because in 99, they had a 5.3, good engine, good transmission. The trucks that I had 250, 300,000 miles on them, kept on running. So it depends on the options, let's say. A base model truck, nobody's going to care about it. But if it's got, an LT, and then, of course, you got to look at restoring the interior because it all split. We know how that is. There's a lot you would have to do to make it, in my opinion, valuable to the right people. But they're good trucks, though. No doubt about it. Let's see here. Hold on a second. Rick says he sent me an email, but I did not get it. I didn't get you an email, Rick. I didn't get it. May have to try again. Taylor, summer's coming. Was working on my 2019 dirt bike yesterday. Got fired up for the first time this year. Going to do oil change through it and get it ready for opening day at the track. That sounds good. That's a 250. That's a pretty good bike. Yeah. Rick, okay, so I didn't get that picture. Paul Tootie, I missed my two 65 SS Malibus. Yeah. Well, the only 65 I had was one like this, and that was my stock car. And this is a little Hot Wheels version of my stock car. That's the only 65 I've ever had. And I saw one again at that cruise in. I don't know if I had a picture of that one or not. Hold on a second. Let me see if did I take a picture of that car? Oh yeah. Let me share that picture too, because since you brought it up, I have to. It's loading. It's loading. Okay. So how about that? Now I know 64 and 65 were very similar. I can't tell you specifically if that is, a 65 or not. Um, but I know they were very, very similar. No, 64 is not the same. 65 was its own shape. Yeah, 64 was like the 63. Sorry about that. 65 and then 66 and 7 were very similar. So 65 would be by itself. So there you go. How about that, Paul? How about that? Let me get back over here. Jim Henry, I have a 90 Cobra GT going to race it this year. Okay. That sounds awesome. A 90 Cobra GT. That's pretty cool. Ralph, yes, 205DS opinion on MIG wire for panels. I did order the optional 230 wire. Have you tried different size wires on a machine? I did, and let me tell you this. There was a learning curve for me on that machine because I'm used to, and I get the terms wrong, induction or whatever, like the transformer, whatever. My Lincoln, I'm so used to it that I struggled a little with the MiG 205 or MiG, 205. I tried using the smaller diameter wire, and I could not get my setting. I couldn't figure out how to do the settings to make it work. Like it would start to feed it, and then I had a problem where it would like burn up the wire too fast. So I was really struggling with that, and I kind of gave up on it and just set it aside. And I went back to using my Lincoln. So it's probably easier with the 30,000s to operate the machine. But maybe it was something I was doing too, because again, I'm not overly familiar with those. I know that the MP200, I've been using that thing for the last several weeks. And now that I have a grasp of that machine, I like it. I like the way it works. But you have to just try to experiment and see if you can get that 023 wire to work and adjust the settings as much as you can. It may take some experimenting. James, would you hide your classic car if the government made all internal combustion engine cars illegal? Would I hide it? I don't know if I'd hide it. I don't know what they would gain. I'd probably just leave it in the garage. If that counts as hiding, then I guess I would be hiding it. But I don't know that. I highly doubt they'd ever come to that as a thing. But I would probably just leave it in the garage. Larry, to get suspension or steering parts to Mustang 2, you're going to have to steal them off all the hot rods that have salvaged off the poor cars. That is true. That is one thing about the Mustang 2s is they were a sacrificial car for hot rodders. They definitely were. They definitely were. Doyle, the Bondo is half-inch thick, covering the damage. Are we talking about the Frankenstein Mustang? Is that the one we're talking about? Because I didn't really. I kind of skipped through his video just to see what was going on. What was going on with that? Jim Henry frame rotted out on my 94. My 94 what? I don't know what that says. a frame runner on my 94 with only 780,000 miles on it. Yeah, piece of junk, right? 780. That's awesome. That's awesome. Paul Tootie, nice 65 Grill. Yes. Yeah, it's a good looking car. Nice. I mean, it was always kind of, the quarter panels were always weird. It's like you had to jack the thing up to get big fat tires under it. I know that much. Jeeper Mustang. I got a '66 convertible Stang with 35,000 on it. It's been in my garage for 20 years. It was a bar find. Is it worth much? Straight six. Well, that's a tough question. First of all, can you document that it has 35,000 miles on it? The odometer does not document it because they only go up to 99,000 and they roll over. So you're going to need some paperwork that says that it only has 35,000 miles on it. Like oil changes from the 70s, 80s, 90s, anything that can say this car had this much miles on it. A lot of people tend to think that because the odometer says 35 or 25 or 45, whatever, that's the actual miles on the car, but it's not. They roll over. It just rolls over at 99,000. So you will need something to document that mileage. The other thing is being a straight six. Those are going up in value simply because everybody else is buying up all the V8 cars, and it's just kind of pulling those along. The drawback is the six cylinders had 4-lug wheels, so it's hard to find wheels for those. The suspension is a little bit lighter, the spindles and stuff, from what I understand. So that doesn't really help it. But as far as value, it would have to be overall condition. You can't just, again, you can't say it's got 35,000 miles on it. I've seen cars that have 30,000 miles on it, but they sat and rusted and rotted. So that doesn't help. The mileage is just kind of a number at that point. So anyway, there's some, you can do some searches on it and see what it's worth. But I can't quote you and say it's worth 15,000 or 20,000 or 30,000. I really can't. It's really kind of hard to give you a number on that. Ray. All right, guys. Lots of good stuff today. Wish you all have a great weekend or a great week. Have a great one, Barry. See you Thursday. Okay. Thanks for being here, Ray. Daniel, sorry for my spelling mistakes. Do you think 90s and early thousands cars going to be collectible? For example, 99 to 2007, and I guess half ton Silverado and GMC Sierra. I mean, I can't say collectible. I can't say that. And again, it's going to depend on the options. If it's a base model, nobody cares. Just the way it is. Mileage is going to come into play, maintenance, what options it has. They're great trucks, and there's tons of them out there. It's not like we look at today and we go, oh, there's a 72 Chevy. I don't see those very often. Or the square body Chevys are coming up in value, 73 to 87. They're coming up in value because people are the generation that one of those vehicles are now getting old enough that they can afford them, so they're going to throw money at them. The Ford trucks, 69, 70, 71, those are coming up in value. Same reason. The people that want them are now can have some money throw at them. But I can't say that those model trucks are going to be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It really can't. We can't say. Sam, biggest tips on doing quarter panel and wheelhouse. Oh, let's see. On the Mustang? Well, I've done several videos on those. The biggest problem I've run into is how the wheelhouse and the quarter panel relate to each other. So depending on what you've bought, if you bought just an outer wheelhouse, or if you bought the inner and outer together, which I would recommend if you're going to do it, buy it assembled. Don't buy the inner and the outer and try to piece it all together. Do it as one piece. But what I like to do is test fit the quarter panel and the wheelhouse on the floor. Make sure that wheelhouse fits the curvature of the quarter panel. Then, once you get that figured out and you can get the wheelhouse, let's say you get it up in place, you still have to get it indexed to where the quarter panel will fit. Because it's great if it fits, but if your quarter goes on and there's a gap, you're going to have to fight with that gap. I've had to deal with that too. But there's a lot of things that can happen with the quarter panels. I've had the driver's side has been too long, and I've had to shorten the thing to make it fit. The bottom flange where it meets the rocker panel, they're made and it's flared open, and you have to dolly it up so that it fits and sits on the rocker panel. There's let's see, what else is there? There's several ways you can do the quarter. Like if you go back and look at the Jade videos, I had left the trunk opening on Jade. I wanted to maintain that shape, and so I left that and I put a seam. I went inside of the bend of the quarter panel so that I could keep the length of the trunk opening because it was good. Sometimes when you put those in, that trunk opening shape doesn't match the way it should, and you got to fight with that. So if you can save that piece, that's a good thing to do. Some people, they will do the 80% quarter, which is fine. And that's where you come up and you cut it like I've got this body line here on the Camaro. You come down about an inch below that body line and you cut the quarter off, and then you take the new quarter and you put it on, and you, let's say it's a skin, 80% skin, and you cut both of those panels at the same time. So you recut that, but now you're about a half inch, and you cut the other panel and you cut them at an angle. So when they come back together, the angles kind of overlap on each other just a little bit. It helps too. There's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, I've got plenty out there on the videos. Good question though. Fiji, would you ever make an electric muscle car? I would consider it, honestly. I would. Now, it would have to be, the products would have to kind of show up for me. I'm not going to go out and buy the stuff necessarily, but yeah, I would consider doing it. Paul, hijacker air shocks, good memories. Yeah, yep. Jerry, do a Marty report on a convertible inline 6. It will tell you much information. There's some good advice. Yeah, go to Marty report and check on the status of that car. Taylor, Daniel, BC, I don't think the 99 Plus trucks will be as desirable as the 88 to 98 trucks. However, the 99 Plus trucks have great drivetrain donors for the 88 to 98, unless you're talking diesel 0107 Duramax. Yeah. Oh, okay. Hold on just a second. Whoops. Hold on. My mouse is acting up. Gonna give an invite to Harvey. I just saw his email come in. Yeah. Okay. But you're right about that, Taylor. The drivetrains are what makes those trucks valuable overall. Mavico from, I don't know what you're saying there. Something night. Good night? I guess good night. Doyle, I did not get the email, so I don't know where it's at, Doyle. It may be just slow to get here. I don't know. Robert, the 7888 GM G body cars are the last of the hot rod breed. All rear-wheel drive, and you can put any drivetrain in them. Lots of performance parts, and the rest of the parts are catching up now. Yes, I agree with you on that. I'm a fan of the 78 Malibu, 78 and 79. I am a fan of those cars. I like the noses on those better than the 80, 81s when they started to, round them up. I see you, Harvey. I'll have you on in just a second. Terry, if the economy tanks further, then it won't matter what anything is worth. That is very true. And Michael, I went with a auto hot shot welder. It has auto range. It charges the settings by my welding. I took a little getting used to, but now I love it. I can go from 22 gauge to 14 gauge and not skip a beat. Okay. Yeah, that the MP200 does the same type of thing. Although you can dial it in. It's really cool. Okay. We have a guest. Welcome, Harvey, everybody.
Hey, Barry.
Hey, Harvey. How's it going?
Good. Things are warming up in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think we're in the 50s tonight or something like that. Not too bad considering.
Yeah.
The paint shop's been closed down since last fall. I haven't done any paint work on anything just because it's been cold and I haven't felt like fighting with it,
Right.
But, I got plenty of mechanical work and stuff done over the winter. I kind of forget when the last time was we did a guest appearance. I think it was still warm out last fall or something like that.
It may have been. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It has been a while.
I think it was the day I was at the firehouse in the backyard with the car parked in the background.
Yes.
Or something like that.
I think so too. Yes.
Yeah.
So what's going on with your with Tina?
So Tina is now one color, assuming that my hood's still flat black, but I really like it flat black, so I'm probably just going to leave it that way. So other than that, I waited for the weather to get just right last year when it was, probably about 70 degrees during the day, and I took a day off of work and just, started prepping and taping and wiping and cleaning and, got the car painted all the same color. I kind of stuck with my plan. I think if you remember, I had base coated a bunch of panels on it, like the front fenders and doors.
Right.
And the end plan was to scuff everything down one last time with like 400 grit, blow a coat of base on the whole car, get it all uniform, and then put a matte clear on it. So that was what I wound up doing.
Okay.
And it really looks just about like the base coat did, which I really kind of like that matte finish. It's just something different,
Yeah.
So that went pretty good. And, you've been exactly the same place I have been. My headliner was out of it. And I think I might have still had the original glass in the car. I'm not sure. But, at night I couldn't see when headlights were coming the other way because the windshield was so pecked up. So, it was a marathon, pull the front and back glass out, do a headliner, paint the car, put everything back together and, kind of get it back on the road. And it killed me not to have it on the road for probably a month and a half or something, which was kind of what my downtime was, because I really got used to driving it and just enjoying having it,
Yeah.
I didn't care if it was cold or what, I don't drive it in the rain, but I don't mind if it's cold out, and it's got a heater.
Yeah,
I restored the heater box on it, So, so it was kind of a neat project, to get the headliner done. And I was actually kind of okay with it without the headliner, but, even my kids both told me, like Jordan and Jared were both like, if you got the glass out, you got to put a headliner in it. Even if you change your mind and don't want to cut it out later,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so Tina's got a headliner, new windshield, original back glass, matte colored paint, new interior light, and I still don't have door panels on it yet or carpets. But it's actually okay. I drove it all last summer like that. It really wasn't even all that hot. I mean, there was a couple days where I think my wife was a little less than appreciative to be out with me. When it was like 90 something, and the floor was kind of hot from the exhaust and stuff. But most days it's really not too bad. You roll the windows down and it's good.
Yeah.
It's an AC car, and I put everything back in the heater box when I rebuilt the heater box. But I did not put any compressor under the hood or anything like that. And I kind of don't think I ever will. But it's okay. You got options. I can change my mind later. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tina's coming along. I'm working on weather strips right now. I think I talked to you a little bit about it. I found the door belt line weather strips to be really frustrating. It seems like everybody makes kind of about the same molding, and the clips don't work in the doors, unless your door's over 1/8 of an inch thick of sheet metal,
Right.
which it's not. Because the clips are too liberal. But I did find a pretty good solution. So the moldings that don't work, the moldings themselves are actually pretty good. The clips are bad, but the clips are just kind of pressed into them. They're not a whole lot holding them in. And I'm on eBay, and I found clips from a guy. He says they fit GM cars and Ford cars from the 60s, and they're almost exactly the same clip. So I bought them. They were, I think it was, with shipping, it was like $18 for 12 of them. The only thing is you really need more like 36 of them when you're, or
Yeah.
32 of them when you're done, But anyway, so I tried one, and I pulled the old clips out of the moldings, pressed the new ones in, and I got the one weather strip snapped on just like they're supposed to. Like once they're in, it's a 5-minute job,
Wow.
like it's supposed to be, instead of hours and hours of messing with the clips, trying to shim them out and screw them and everything else. So
Right.
that was kind of a home run. I was really glad I found that. I'd like to kind of do a little
You might have to
video
send
on
me
it
a link to
someday.
that.
I will. Yeah. It was funny. The company that makes all these molding clips and stuff, it's Rubber the Right Way. Maybe a little play on words. I'm not sure, but I guess they make rubber moldings the right way, and
Okay.
they also make clips for them. And so it was a pretty good fix for those moldings that were really frustrating. Because I forget, I bought them so long ago. I forget what I even paid for them, but I'm kind of thinking it might have been for the front and back ones. It might have been like $130 or something like that,
Okay.
maybe. For moldings not to fit in your car and work. Kind of frustrating.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But it seemed like they were all kind of the same. So the moldings were one of the home runs, recently. Um, and kind of with gas going the way it is, I'm kind of glad that I went with a 5-speed because I can almost eke out 20 miles at a gallon if I keep my foot out of it, and
Yeah.
not too bad for a 68.
Yeah.
It's okay, and it still goes along pretty good.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's, hold on just a second. So Aaron says it's going to be 70s this week in New Jersey, which sounds good.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Bob. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Just a couple of them. Bob's checking in from Lubbock, Texas, or Lubbock trip. Just got in from a Lubbock trip, so here to catch this last bit of stream. And then Paul asked, Harvey, did you replace the splash guard rubber?
Splash guard rubber. Oh, inside the front fenders.
I assume that's what he's asking.
Yeah, I did. I actually had the originals they probably could have been saved. A lot of the places said that, you watch some videos and different things, and they said that by the time you get done trying to sandblast them, clean them, restaple the rubber things onto them, just buy the whole kit. And the whole kit I think I got from CJ Pony Parts. And I have to say that, with maybe about 10 minutes of modification on each side, I was able to tuck them in nice and tight,
Yep.
and those things really worked good.
Yeah.
And I actually truck bedlinered them when I put them
Oh,
in.
okay.
One of my favorite undercoatings is actually like bedliner because it's not all sticky.
Yeah.
So I bedlinered them and put them in. They make a nice seal, and they're really they were, like I said, they're just TJ Pony part ones, but they made a really good like almost identical piece to what came out of it.
Right.
So yeah, definitely the right way to go. I drove it around for a short time without them, but every time I'd even see a puddle, I'd just cringe because, I spent all this time fixing these fenders and stuff that I don't want to like get mud packed in them and things like that.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely a good way to go with those. Like I said, aftermarket ones, buy them built, put them in. Wasn't that expensive, and the labor you save and the end product is really good.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
yeah, everything's like you said, it's easy to get all the. Well, I shouldn't say it's easy. It's fun doing all the welding, all these little nitpicky things like weather strips and getting all your lights to work and things like that. That is time consuming.
It is. It is. You don't realize it until you start digging into it. And it's like, oh, I got to go back and try this again, or do that again, or take this apart, put that in. I would much rather just be welding.
Yeah. And again, we still have our white car. We drive that a lot. In fact, that made a trip down to the shore and back, which for us was probably about, I think, 150 miles round trip. That was last week when it was, I think last Friday was about 65 or 70 degrees here. And then my son's like, I'm going to the shore and taking the car and just enjoying it. And I don't care what gas costs. It's like sometimes you just got to go out and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So he took it, but it's nice having the the white car, I've said it before, having an example of a pretty much untouched car, or at least with everything in the original place, is just awesome.
Yeah.
Putting my car together, there were so many things I forgot where they went. Even though I had them bagged and tagged, I couldn't remember what kind of bolt held something in or whatever. And it's really nice to have an example to go look at, or something to measure off of.
Well, that's going to be part of the problem with this Camaro, because the other guy took it all apart, and I'm finding like plates and brackets and stuff, and I'm like, I don't have an idea where this goes. One of the things that I had to deal with earlier, let me just grab it real quick. When I was taking the dash out, it has this duct panel, your defrost duct.
Wow, yeah.
And I was struggling getting the dash out because this was in the way, and so I could not drill through a bracket because this was in line with it. So I thought, well, I'll just take this out of the way. Well, it has a bolt here and a bolt here, and I took those out, and I was able to kind of get it out of the way enough to where I could get the dash loose. But what I didn't realize, and I'm glad I took this out, there's another bracket down here. Okay? Well, the guy had put in the heater box. He put in a nice heater box, a heater core, and this was in there, and it's supposed to have a bolt going through it. So had I not taken this apart and just left it in the car, this would have been
like a rattle
and making noise. But that's one of the things. It's like, okay, so you can't put this in unless you put this in first, then put the heater core in, but don't put this in until you put the speaker in. There's a whole sequence of things that have to happen. So
yeah. Well, that goes back to one of your favorite sayings, Barry. What is it? Sequence is scored?
Sequence is scored, yes. Sequence is scored. It's one
Never
thing to put
true
something
word.
together, but there's a process to it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Speaking of rattles, I had this rattle in my dashboard, and I've had my dash out, my gauges out. I put a new dash pad in Tina and all like that, and I had this buzzing rattle noise that was just kind of hard to track down. I'd hear it at certain RPMs, going down the road at a certain speed. It would kind of rattle somewhere around the glove box, and I'm under there with a flashlight and sitting out. I mean, I really have way too much time trying to track down this noise. And so anyway, the other day, my new registration card came in the mail because it's like the 1 year anniversary since the car got on the road.
Yeah.
I go in the glove box, and the owner's card and the registration are held down by this little flat sheet metal clip. It's like a piece of spring steel.
Yeah.
And they weren't underneath of it for some reason. Maybe they wiggled out. But that was my noise, was that little clip vibrating on the bottom of the glove box. And both cars have it. So I guess all Mustangs have it. I don't know. But it makes a really nasty noise when it's just sitting there with nothing, without an owner's card underneath of it or something like that.
Well, I have to keep an eye out for it. I don't know if Jade has that in it or not. I did not pay attention.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sometimes you gotta look for the simple stuff before you go sticking your head all up under the dashboard looking for something you forgot or a bolt you didn't tighten up.
Exactly. Let's see. Rick says it seems like the last 10% of your build takes 90% of your time. That's pretty accurate. Paul says very true. Bags of bolts. Talking about putting a car back together and having all these extra stuff. Clark, just make shorts for show and tell. People can give responses to what the part is and how it goes in. Oh, he's talking about I can make short videos about where does this go?
Absolutely.
Where does this go? So I may have to do that. So item number 1 is this bracket. What does it do? Where does it go? That's a good thing. I may be able to do that.
Yeah.
And Ralph says rattle like the ball bearings in a cowl. Yeah. That old trick. I keep hearing something when I turn left and I turn right. Clunk, clunk, goes back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that the joke? Put a ball bearing in the rocker when you're welding it together.
Yeah.
Drive somebody crazy.
That would drive them crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Not much you could do about it at that point.
Yeah, I was and the question earlier about the heads on the 260. reminded me of another job we did over the winter. So our white car has, an original, unrestored, I guess, 130,000 mile 302 in it. It's a factory 4-valve car. And, it was getting kind of doggy, just not fast or whatever, just feeling worse and worse. And we measured the compression on it, and the compression was basically low on every single cylinder. And we kind of knew why it was coming. The thing's been running unleaded fuel probably for years, and the car is designed to have leaded fuel, so it doesn't have hardened valve seats. And we pulled the heads out of it, and every exhaust valve and every seat was kind of beat on the thing. The intake valves were fine, but the exhaust valves were all bad. So, the compression in some of the cylinders was like 60 or something like that. And we started off, we were going to put an aftermarket set of heads on it with a little bit larger valves. And the pistons from the factory on that motor, the relief cuts for the valves don't have enough radius for a bigger valve. Like you can only go just a tiny bit bigger. And then, it's not that they're not deep enough. You could put a higher lift cam in it, but you can't go with too big of a valve because the radius cut on that thing. So, like if you had, let's just say, I forget what the size is, let's say a 1.7 valve you're trying to put in there, there's not enough room to put like a 190 valve in it or something like that. It just won't fit in the hole. So what we wound up doing, we had a nice set of E7 heads. Jared actually picked them up a couple of years ago for just that occasion. We were figuring that at some point in time we have to do something with the heads on the car. He had a set of E7 heads, which are kind of like a stock 95 set of heads you'd put on something. Like Tina has a 95 or a 94 engine in it, with E7 heads on it. They're a bolt-on replacement. They got, I think, just slightly bigger valves in them, or the same or slightly bigger than the 302 had. Slightly bigger combustion chamber, not a lot. But, factory hardened seats. They were bolt-on heads. And now you can run any kind of gas you want.
Yep.
Slightly lower compression, so you lose a little bit of performance, maybe a little bit. But then again, the thing had Stinko compression with the other heads on it anyway.
Right, sure.
And now it has the tight rocker arms that you tighten down all the way. You don't adjust them anymore.
Oh, okay.
So, and again, my son Jared did a little research on that. He was the brains behind the operation. He found out that if you order push rods for something like I think it was an 85 Ford F-150 with a 5.0 liter, it's going to be a small block Ford engine, and it's going to have E7 heads, and you order the stock push rods for that truck.
Okay.
So you get a set of sealed power push rods for about $32 and put them in, and it's perfect. And we had a push rod measuring tool to check it. And we come up with the same dimension, when we checked it, as what we got with that push rod. So that made a real nice, easy conversion.
Yeah, on
that.
Sure.
And we saved the original heads. They could go back on someday if we wanted to. Get them cut, get machined, hardened valve seats in them. But for the moment, there's a nice, easy way to put it on the road. It didn't cost a whole lot of money, and you can run any kind of gas in it you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good fix.
Yeah, so that was another cold weather project that didn't involve paint. Right. That worked out pretty good. Yes.
Well, I think we're getting close to quitting time.
Okay. Well, hey, I just wanted to check in. Let me try. I wanted to try and flip around for a second, but I'm out of practice, Barry. So if I dump you, I'll just say good night now.
Okay.
If I can successfully turn it around, I will. Let me see.
Sounds good.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, that wasn't it.
That wasn't it.
Let me see.
I don't know what the options are.
I know. Like I said, I'm out of practice. It's been like 6 months or something since we did this. I'll tell you what. Let me.
You can do it that way. Yeah.
I'll try it this way. Let me go sideways so I get a bigger picture.
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull off my screen, and it'll make your screen bigger. So
okay,
you won't be able to hear me though. So you just have to kind of talk about it. I'll give you a minute. Ready?
Gotcha.
All right, go.
All right, so here's Tina in present condition. Like I said, all one color. It's a matte green, matte clear on it. It's base clear. And the hood's going to stay black, as you can see. I'm trying to do this backwards. I like the flat black hood. Kind of looks like the old Trans Am race cars from the 60s. That was pretty neat. And hard to aim a camera this way. And let me see if I can get a shot of the headliner. So the headliner's done. And your video helped on that. Mine not too long after you did yours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see when you stepped away. You're now kind of blurry because you're away from your.
okay.
So
Yeah,
it's not working very well.
I was messing with all my lights. I've got LED lights all over the garage,
Yeah.
and trying to find one that doesn't make a giant glare in the camera background is tough.
Yeah.
Because they're all centered over this where you work in the middle. But so anyway, just a quick update. Good to say hi, and as always, enjoy your show. And it's just fun to see what pops up next. And I'm looking forward to the Camaro.
Yeah, I'm digging into it. I like it. It's really exciting for me.
I always liked those cars. When I was hunting for my project, it was either going to be probably a '67 or '8 Camaro or a Mustang, and it just happened to be Mustang.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, take care. See you soon.
We'll see you later.
All right.
Thanks
bye.
for being here. Oop. Sorry, kind of cut you off there. I'm glad Harvey was here to participate. Again, we're calling this, going to the end of the show here. But let me just see what the Marine. Your thoughts for resale, restore my '65 Mustang Fastback, thrown over rust-free C-code 4-speed, but no matching parts, either original style or pimped out, like you see on Barrett Jackson, $20,000 or $60,000 resto. Yeah. I can't really say which way is going to be better. There are people that are looking for the resto mods, and there are people, even though it's not original, that like to have the original. So it's hard for me to say cut up or modify an original 65 Fastback. I would rather see that car stay intact and try to put it back together the way it was. If it was a hybrid car where it started off as a coupe and turned into a fastback, and then it's like, who cares at that point? But I would rather see it stay as it is, even though it doesn't have the original pieces, than to modify it with, suspension mods and stuff like that. So just my thoughts. But I'm going to call tonight. It's been fun. We've put in 2 hours. We've had lots of good conversation. Got to talk about some things, share some information, and I appreciate everybody being here. But that'll be it for tonight, and I'll be back on Thursday at 3 p.m. At least for now. That's where I'm going to try to keep doing Thursdays. We'll see how that goes in the future, but until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.